Hi there, and welcome to another one of my videos. This video is going to be a bit different. I have not done any preparations for this video. This is mostly just going to be me rambling or talking on about some quotes. And today I wanted to talk about this book. This is The Art of War by Sun Tzu. It's quite old. It's been around for quite a while. Sun Tzu was living in ancient China, so this is around 500 BC or something like that. He was kind of a philosopher, but is mostly famous as a general and a military strategist. So the book is actually mostly just about military strategy, managing armies, and so on. But some of the stuff in the book, even though it applies to the management of military, it is also timeless wisdoms. Not all of it, but some of it is timeless wisdoms. And so I wanted to share with you guys one or two quotes that we can discuss that I think are pretty applicable today and worth considering when we take on things in our own life. So first off, we have this quote, which is actually, I don't want to take credit for finding this quote. I think it's a pretty famous quote, and I'm not the first to enjoy it or to notice it. But it goes like this. So, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. So on the surface, this seems obviously like military strategy. But if you look at it through a more general perspective, know yourself and know the enemy is pretty much the perfect guide to make any difficult decisions. If you don't know yourself, if you don't know what makes you or what motivates you, if you don't know what makes you tick, and if you don't know your own limitations, you're going to be making decisions on behalf of yourself. But if you don't know yourself, those decisions are going to be based on a very fragile foundation or a very unstable foundation, maybe. And this quote also highlights, or I think brings to our attention, that even though this is military strategy, that most battles are not won on the battlefield. The battles, they are fought and they are won through intelligence, through positioning, and through planning. But these things are done in advance. You assure the win of the battle before the battle begins. That's kind of the whole secret to this, to the art of war. And this, I think, is also a bit the secret to success in our own decision making. All the work of the decision, or all what determines the outcome of the decision is obviously going to be the thought that you give it in advance. So knowing yourself, first of all, is very important, and then comes knowing the enemy. Now, the enemy doesn't necessarily have to be an actual enemy. It doesn't have to be some villain that you're fighting, or some arch enemy. The enemy can be procrastination. The enemy can be a toxic work environment. The enemy can be difficulties in running your own business. All of these things could be an enemy. And so if you don't know if we take the example of running your own business, for example, if you don't know your own industry, you don't know the field in which you're kind of operating, this is the know yourself, then you're already not going to be able to succeed. And then you also need to know your enemy. You need to know exactly what you're going to have to overcome, and you need to consider the different outcomes, the different scenarios and things like that. Now, the thing is that it's really about being, at least the way the author portrays the issue of warfare, it's really about being certain. You don't want to put yourself in situations where it's a gamble. You don't want to risk it. And so the way he transmits this is through, well, there's many quotes, but here's two of them that kind of transmit what I'm trying to say as well. What the ancients called a clever fighter is one who not only wins, but excels in winning with ease. Hence, his victories bring him neither reputation for wisdom nor credit for courage. So you shouldn't put yourself in situations where you need to beat the odds. Just the same way he says there, a good general will not get any credit for courage or for beating the odds, because he doesn't put himself in those situations. So he has no opportunity to show real courage and to show real brilliance in overcoming the odds, because he's wise. He doesn't put himself in those positions and knows that he has won the battle before the battle begins. Another quote that kind of is in alignment with this is the following: "The good fighters of old first put themselves beyond the possibility of defeat, and then waited for an opportunity of defeating the enemy." So it's all about first being steadfast yourself, and then you need to have patience. You need to consider when is going to be the right opportunity to act and not rush into battle. Because as the first quote also says, there's going to be 100 battles. Now, I actually don't think the quote was meant to be interpreted in this way. I think the way the author wants the quote to be interpreted is that if you know yourself and you know the enemy, you don't need to fear the outcomes of 100 battles, because you know the outcome of the 100 battles. You're going to win 100 out of 100 battles if you consider this. But the way I consider this quote, or the way that I think we should apply it, because even if you do all the research, if you take everything into considerations, you're still not going to win 100 out of 100 battles. The real world doesn't work like that, sadly. So the way I consider it is, we don't just have one battle to face, we have hundreds. We have way more than hundreds, probably. And so if you kind of want to make the decisions just based on one occurrence, then you're not going to be able to get the most out of your decision making. Now, this doesn't make a lot of sense, so let me give an example that I hope can kind of transmit what I'm trying to say. So imagine you've been growing a business. You have a business that you've worked really hard for, and now you kind of have the opportunity to expand and increase profits, or whatever you do. And the chance of success when you try this is going to be 60% chance of success and a 40% chance of like absolute failure. Now, are you gonna do it? Are you gonna risk, like, your business is running fine, are you gonna really risk 40%, which is pretty high, it's almost 50%, risk of fucking everything up and ruining your business, or are you gonna take the chance? Probably not. It's not going to be worth it to risk the one business you have just for some opportunity of expansion. But if instead we don't consider, or we don't consider that you only have one business, or that you only have one choice, consider that you have to make this decision 100 times. If you make the decision 100 times, 60 times out of those 100 it's going to be a success, and only 40 times it's going to be a failure. So you're going to be coming out ahead. So if we see things as one-time decisions, we might not take the leap when we should, because we are going to be facing a lot of decisions in our life. We're going to have a lot of battles, and if each time you consider it as this is the only battle, you might not take enough risk, or not risk, but enough chances to get out or get ahead in the long run. So when you know yourself and you know the enemy, then you should take maybe the decisions as if you take it 100 times. Unless, of course, the stakes are super high, like if these are very difficult decisions and the stakes are incredibly high and the odds are not the best, then obviously you should not consider it like this. But for general everyday things, you should be happy making decisions if the decisions would have led to success over 100 times, like if you made the decision 100 times. And the same way it goes the same in the opposite way. If you make a decision in which the odds are against you and you succeed, you should not be very proud of it because you did the wrong decision. You got lucky and you succeeded, but it was the wrong decision, because out of 100 times it would have been a failure. It would have not been the best outcome. So I think what I would take away from this quote and from this book is to generally first start by knowing yourself, because you're making decisions for yourself and based on yourself. Second is to know the enemy, know what you're facing. This is also a bit common sense, of course. And then lastly, consider that you're going to be making not one decision but hundreds in your life. And so consider which decisions or which odds you're going to take so that you come out ahead, not just based on this one time, but you want to be coming out ahead after making multiple decisions. So then the odds can start being in your favor. Yeah, that was kind of what I took away from it. Maybe some of it is a bit of a stretch. Maybe I'm interpreting a bit too much, and that's totally fair. I think I might be. But that was all from me today. If you enjoyed the video and this got you thinking in any kind of way, feel free to share it in the comments below. I'm happy to read them. You can also share if there's any particular battles you're facing right now where you have some decision making that is maybe hard. And yeah, that was all. Thank you very much for your attention and for watching. And hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye.